Alright guys, hello and welcome. We are back. I went out and I troubleshooted and I adapted the objects generation that was used on Karga for Shimmerpool. It's not perfect, but the hard part is already done, and that'll save us a little bit of time in terms of the presentation. It could be interesting to show that sort of thing, but I really needed to take the time and go through the drudgery of transferring over the method that I had figured out previously for Shimmerpool. So we've got our infamous objects spreadsheet here. I actually started to simplify this. There was a blocker for every single type of eye candy that we would want to have on each of the terrains, and I figured out that I could just use one blocker and put the eye candy in later. So we saved a backup version of the spreadsheet, and we've started to generalize things to like Mountain 1 and Mountain 2 instead of Mountain 3 and Mountain 4, which are the desert mountains. So, and then of course we have the important actor-area relationships all contained in here that make this possible. So we'll go ahead and we'll generate it so that I can show you guys what we've got for now, and we can potentially look at ways to improve it beyond that. Note that these sorts of things, if these were the desert mountains, this would actually look really good in the desert biome, and this is the way that it looked before. After a little bit of troubleshooting, I confirmed that essentially the blockers that are going down here are building blockers, and they are there to prevent you from building on this terrain. Now, in the original Karga, this terrain is actually gravel. It's not DLC rock, so you could build on it if these blockers were not there. In this case, it's DLC rock, but we can't guarantee that it will be DLC rock every single time. So by putting down these blockers, we ensure that this is not buildable, because we don't want people walling people in up here. I don't think it's that huge of a risk, at least not for starting, because we're going to be starting them with the ox carts, in this case, that you delete and you get villagers that way. So it's not a huge risk, but it still is possible, and we want to remove that possibility. So you can see it doesn't really look that great right now because we've got these sandstone desert rocks with these snowy mountains. So we don't really have any snowy rocks, unfortunately. But we might be able to adapt some objects here. So I've written down some objects. I've gone through the advanced Genie editor, and I found all the rocks and everything like that that I could potentially want to use, and I've tried to simplify what's here, and again we'll generalize this. Like, we don't necessarily always want DLC boulders B and C or A and B. It's going to depend on the biome. For a cold biome, it doesn't make as much sense as it would for a desert or savanna biome. But while I was going through the Genie editor, I note that there's been a recent change to DE where new cliff types have been added. So it looks like they have desert cliffs here and they have snow cliffs, you guys. So I thought it could be fun to see maybe if snow cliffs could be applicable here. At least try it out a little bit, or at least see what they look like, see if we can include them. It's not necessary to really spend a bunch of time on it, because we could probably make it work without the snowy cliffs. But I'm quite curious. So we're not really going to mess with the spreadsheet for now, because there are a bunch of these cliff objects, and I'm honestly not sure what they do. So to use the spreadsheet as an intermediary would be somewhat of a waste of time, I think. So we're going to go directly into the script, and we're just going to generate these generally over the base terrain just to see what they are. And so let's go do that now. So we come in here to Shimmerpool, and we are just going to scroll down to our objects generation section, and after the objects auto-scribe section, maybe we'll steal this or something. So we have this template here. Copy that. Okay. Keep scrolling. So we'll get rid of all this actor area stuff. We don't need that because we're just testing out these cliffs. So we're going to put them on base terrain, BT. Going to give them temp min distance group placement of, let's say, 4. And this is all good stuff. We don't think we need to set them to unconvertible. We'll have them, sure, find the closest. Why not? Actually, this isn't going to do anything, so we'll just get rid of it. And we do not need a second object at all. So we'll save that. And we're going to do cliff here. And we should call it something more specific, like cliff object. We're going to do constant cliff object, and we're just going to put some numbers in here. We're just going to see what happens. So this is going to be placed on the base terrain. We'll minimize that, and we should get a bunch of cliff objects on the base terrain. So I'm just going to keep a list of things that could potentially look interesting. And you can see we've got cliff objects. They appear on the mini-map. So this is sort of interesting, I suppose. This could potentially be a cliff object that we want to use. But the big question that I have is, are these different facets, or what is the deal? So let me write down that 264. We'll say potential cliffs as I write on a piece of paper that you cannot see. So this is the default cliff. Alright. So we get that out of the way, but you can see that it goes from 264 to 272, and then we got stuff in the 1800s. So what we have to consider is, would this look good? Hey, Waffle King! Yeah, the mystery paper, that's right. Welcome, Waffle King. So we have to consider whether or not this will look good in all of these different orientations. We could probably control the orientations of these cliffs. We could actually even probably make our own custom cliffs with like these cliffs in a chain. But it would be, the object generation program is not set up to do it. We don't have the infrastructure in place. Interestingly enough, this is actually closed off, which is somewhat unfortunate. So you can't really go through that passageway. Well, anyway, let's go and take a look and see what 265 is, if that is of any consequence to us. I think it'll just be a different facet. No. It appears to be the same object. Alright, what about 266? Still appears to be the same object. Alright. Well, that's too bad. So I bet that if we went all the way down to 272, it would still look the same as that. But let's just try it. We've got lots of cliff objects here to work with. Yep. So now let's try something else. Let's go to, I think it's just set facet. And we can set the facets and change potentially the rotations of these. See? So now the cliff looks like this. And that might look good over here on this side, but I don't really want to go through the effort of trying to set all that up. It would not look really that good over here. Maybe right here next to the base of this mountain, but it would just not, it would not be worth it. But where I was gonna go with this is, if we have like snow objects like 1858 snow cliffs, it could potentially be, oh, thank you, Waffle King. It could potentially be a good source of snowy rocks. So we could maybe set this facet to 2. See if that looks any better. Any of them are sort of standalone. That would be pretty helpful. Nope, that's not good. Set facet to 3. Yeah, see, like, this is a nice little curve right here, but fitting it in here could be somewhat challenging. We have to probably just put it on this mountain overlook terrain. But I just don't know that it's worth the effort to try to include it in here. Maybe if it were closer to the mountain, but I've spent enough time trying to get this to work already. So I think we'll just remove the sandstone and we'll just leave this kind of barren and snowless on the mountain peak. Especially if it didn't require facets, then I might have a different opinion about it. But the faceting thing is where you control the orientation is a cool feature, but I do not want to bake that into my objects generation program at this time. It has some cool applications. Maybe I'll do that later. I just want to get these corners finished. We could potentially revisit that later. Alright, so let's get rid of these glyph objects here. We will come back and we will see if we can go to our spreadsheet. Now, we've got, let's come to where we are defining things. So we have Mountain 1, where are they? Mountain 2 and Mountain 3. Ridge, Solid Eye Candy 1, Ridge, Solid Eye Candy 2. So we need 3 mountains, and up to 3 mountains, and we have only 2 so far. Because this is what was done for the original project. So the lowest common denominator between those two is 6. So we essentially need to put 6 of these mountain objects down. Or we could put the 3 down and then have sort of a random statement, but I don't really want to do that. We have a random statement where it chooses from a list. So let's study these mountains carefully to make sure we don't screw it up too much. This is good to mix paint to. It's like a good background sound. I appreciate that, Waffle King. I'm glad that I can give you some good background noise while you were mixing paint. Are you painting for fun, Waffle King, or are you painting in an obligatory way? Are you painting because you need to make the interior of your dwelling look presentable, or maybe you're painting to provide a protection from the elements to the outside of your abode? Oh, auto body. Ah, so cars. Yeah, cars are all right, I guess. They're a big money sink, but they're very necessary in order to get from one place to another. So Waffle King is painting a car. You mix paint for a living. Oh, all right. So you must be really good at getting the perfect colors and everything. Well, I find that encouraging then. If you have a good eye for aesthetics, then you'll appreciate these map making processes, I suppose. So that's a good way of looking at it. Okay. So these these mountains are avoiding these off-grid placeholders that are being placed on the transitional terrain. They're avoiding them by 2, and they are being placed within 4. Computers do most of the work today, but I do enjoy it. Ah, the Waffle King thing gets a lot of help from computers. It's true, computers are very smart. I mean, the computer does most of the scripting work for me, too. So I guess there's no dishonor in that, but you have to have the wisdom to tell the computer what to do. Because the computer, it's very efficient at what it's designed to do, but if you put garbage in, you'll get garbage out. So computers are not really a substitute for skilled labor, in my opinion. They just make people that are good at something even better. Okay, so we are gonna we're gonna strip these numbers off for now. And we will insert rows above. So we're gonna copy these so that we have 6 mountains. And in the case where there are only 2 appropriate mountains, then we'll be able to work that out. So regardless of whether or not there are 2 or 6, we'll space these appropriately. Okay. So this is it's avoiding 26 and 27. So these are instructed. Let me just go back real quick. Let me just delete this and just to make sure here. We don't want to screw anything up with these actor areas because I don't want to figure that out again. It makes it easy, but only if you know exactly what you need to know and to communicate it with the machine. All right, so 22, 23. Okay, so this is avoiding 22 by a certain distance, and then most importantly, these boulders here, boulder B and boulder C, are avoiding the mountains each by 8 tiles. And then of course this boulder C is avoiding, it's gonna probably avoid whatever's in A20, yeah, the other boulder by 4 again. So we need to tell these, it's not A26 comma no, it's not A27 comma A28, which is what they're currently in. It's A27 through A28. So it's not going to appear to change the formula at first, but we need to put a colon in here because between 27 and 28, these are where the mountains are. So anytime that we see 27 comma 28, we need to put 27 colon 28. Okay, so these rocks, this is good. This is going all the way to 30 actually. And that's going all the way to 31, so that's fine. That's going all the way to 32, so that's fine. It's going all the way to 33, so that's fine. That's good. Okay, and then these other things don't care. So, however, when we expand this selection, we'll need to add 4 numbers in here, and we need to figure out what they are already. So this is going to go from 27 to 30. So these ones are only 4s. What are the last 3 for this? What's 27 to 30? Let me just draw these back down again. So this is avoiding the mountains, and it's avoiding the boulders, all by 4, and then the last 3 it's avoiding by 1s. So we'll just write down, it's not really a good place to write it down actually, so I'll just keep it in mind. All right, I say let's go ahead and do it, and we'll essentially be adding to the number of 4s here. So we're going to insert rows above. We're going to insert rows above. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to have six of these devoted to mountains. And these lengths are not going to add up, but we'll fix that later. So we're going to copy everything for mountain 1 here. We're going to paste it down this way, just like that. So the mountain 2, we're going to keep these notes here, and we need to note that mountain 2 is told to avoid mountain 1 by half of the temp min distance group placement. The temp min distance group placement here for 2 of them was 24. So for 2 it's 24, and so therefore for 6 it needs to be 3 times 24, which is what, 72? So for 6 it needs to be 72. Because we're basically trying to throw 3 times as many of these mountains at these peaks. So we're going to space them out 3 times as much so that we have the same density. That's the theory. And then we'll have to space these mountains some distance from each other as well. And previously we had done it half, but that's because we only had 2 of them. So I think that we need to do it by 1/6 because we have 6 of them. So that's going to be 1/6 of 72, which is going to be 12. Right? 12 times 6. Yep. All right. Good. So my mental math has not failed me. Okay, so I already have 12 here. So these are going to be mountain 1s. These are going to be mountain... this is going to be mountain 2. Mountain 1, mountain 2, mountain 3, mountain 4, mountain 5, and mountain 6. So we write the names out so that we make sure that we're not trying to overwrite any constants. And these mountains, we're going to give them the temp min distance group placement of 72. So we'll copy that and paste that in here. Very good. Object to place in active area of. That's all good. That's not going to change because they're being placed within a certain distance of the transition terrain from the mountaintop. And they're going to avoid by the same amount. But we're going to have these mountains avoid the previous mountain. So 26, and then we need a 27, and that's going to be 2, 12, and then we'll copy that, paste that down there, and then it's going to be A27 through A28, and we need a space there. There we go. Same way that we need a space here. Okay, and that's going to avoid by 12 again. Because if we don't do that, then these mountains could just get crammed anywhere. So we want the mountains to be evenly spaced from each other. So we'll copy this and paste that there, and then we'll bump this up to 29, and then we'll add another 12, and we'll just keep on going till we've done all 6. So just bump this up to 30. This map would be really cool hybrid. Karga's actually been played before, Waffle King. Not by anybody that's watched playing Age of Empires, just kind of by small groups for small tournaments. It's been played in a couple. I agree, though. It's a lot of fun. It's very fun for hybrid map. In this version, the middle is actually walkable. You can walk across, but you can also dock this too. So there could be some good demolition ship action. But yeah, it plays out. It's pretty fun to watch play out. It's a hybrid map. They think, it's said that the map is campy because of how easy it could be to wall this forest, but that's simply not true. Your wood lines are pretty much all forward. So it's a very aggressive map. It was played in a 1v1 streamer fight, actually. And it always played very aggressively. Alright, anyway. So these are all properly spaced from each other. And so now, when we pull this down, we will note that these start to be a lot longer than these. And that is because we have more mountains. So we need to add 4 8s to this because we added 4 more mountains. Archers or boats in the center is so strong, so camping and not fighting for water seems pretty dumb. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of fighting for water. There's not a ton of fish. I'd have to go back and see how much fish I put in there. So there's not a ton, but there's still some. Okay. So we need to add 4 8s. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll need to add 4 8s to this as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this we kept as 4s. And these rocks were at 4, so I need to add 4 4s to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and these were already spaced 1s, so this should be good. I don't want to go in and count these because it's quite the drudgery. So we'll just hope that these are the same length, otherwise it won't work properly. It will refuse to run. But I'm pretty sure they're the same length because I think we were careful and we checked to see how much other stuff we would have to account for. So the final thing is we need to add mountain 4 for this particular generation or biome. Mountain 5 and mountain 6. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's basically just a repeat from constants 1045 to 1047 and 1045 to 1047 again. Okay. So it should have all of the information it needs. Let's run this update, and hopefully it will compile. Oops. We already knew that. Yeah, objects auto-scribe time. Okay. It's thinking about it, and it finishes. So, when we go back and we check this, here's the kicker. It should look exactly the same. It should look exactly the same, except there will be the possibility of having one more type of mountain. So there's this type of mountain, and then there's this type of mountain, but there should be one more snow mountain that gets included. So these are the two types of mountains that we have available, but we should see more than that. Otherwise, it should look the same. So we'll generate it. All the cliffs will be gone. Okay, it's possible and normal to only have one mountain in each corner. Well, what do you think? Did we do it? Let's increase to giant size to see if that helps us create more mountains here. Here's one type of mountain, here's another type of mountain, and here's the third type of mountain. Nice. Okay, so we got all three here. What's the purpose of this relic? Waffle King, you gotta have relics. So there's a relic in every single corner, Waffle King. See? There's one here. There's one here. And there's one here. So every corner gets a relic. So, but we do get all three mountain types, which is good. Now I'm just thinking about, do we want to try to increase the density of these? Yep, the terrain is passable. Yep, see? We can have bandits walk all the way through. So there is the possibility that you could start in the corner with an ox wagon. And I've configured this map. Where is it? The ox wagon. Here we go. So players start in the corners with ox wagons for the nomad configuration. And the ox wagon travels through the ridge. It travels through this passageway. And it comes out here. And then you can delete the ox wagon. And then you can, when you delete the ox wagon, it will spawn 3 villagers. And then you build a town center somewhere in here. So that's for the nomad configuration. And then there's a regular, version where you have the town center here too. But that's what's being shown right now because I haven't set it up to show the nomad configuration. Indeed, it is cool, Waffle King. I'm glad that you feel that way. The ox wagon was originally developed for Otisco, but unfortunately, it wasn't ready in time for Otisco to qualify for an important competition, the Holy Cup. Alright, so we're not going to mess with the density of these mountains for now. What we're going to do is we are going to generalize these objects so that we can choose them appropriately for this map. And I almost think that we should scale these actor area distances for these that are spacing these mountains, because it feels like these mountains are, it seems like we could do a little bit better, like we could maybe fit a little bit more mountain in here. So let's give that a try. What the heck, why not? The night is young, Waffle King is here. Let's see if we can get that a little bit better. So to do that, We got these mountains. Now the scaling factors for all of these mountains for both of these are equal to 1. I'm going to set this equal to 2. And I think I should probably do that for these as well. But the problem is that I will have to keep track of how many, because it's really only the first number that's corresponding to like the mountain's placement. So this is the avoidance distance, and this is the place within distance. So this is basically saying place within 4 tiles of the object that is in row 22, which is this object here. And this object is an invisible placeholder that's placed on this transitional terrain that goes from the desert base to the mountain peak. So this essentially allows me to control the offset of these mountains radially along that curve. So we will change these to 2 as well. But we only want to change the first one to 2, because if we change the second one to 2, then we'll start scaling up the distance that these mountains avoid each other for larger map sizes, and I don't want to do that. Are we hosting games tonight? Some of us might be playing Waffle King. We play every Saturday night right now. And if there's enough interest in the community, I would love to do games more nights than that. But it seems to work pretty well. It seems like everybody that shows up on Saturday nights gets to play. And so when that is no longer the case, then we could visit the idea of doing community games more nights than that. But on other nights of the week, we will have content, but it's not community games on custom maps kind of content. It's just informal team games. All right, so we will put some 1s here after these 2s, so that it knows not to scale these remaining relationships. I need another 1 here. But anybody is welcome, Waffle King. Anyone is welcome, regardless of your elo. And if you're not very high elo, then we can give you handicap. That is not a problem. Okay. Seems to be good. So we'll save that, and we'll see if we can improve this a little bit and make these mountains a little bit more centered along this ridge. So we're keeping the seed, and we will run. We actually have a few low elo legends who play with us, and they are quite fun. Alright, writing to file, so it's all set. And we've kept this seed, and we'll see if we can push these mountains more toward the center. Aha! Look at that. Now that is much better. Yeah. That is much better. This one's still a little bit inward, but it'll be all right. Of course, this terrain is all passable up here, so you can walk through this, and we're going to put lots of stone mines in here because the corners are filled with stone. And we do that for 2 reasons. The first reason is because we need a unique place to put the stone, and it seems like the rocky ridges are a logical choice. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is because we don't want players trying to build town centers in these corners, because they build a town center and they're like, "Where's the wood, man? I don't see any wood." Stupid map. No wood. So if we put the stone here, then they won't try to build their town center. They'll keep walking until they see some other resource. And the next resource is generally wood. Or if it's not wood, it'll be gold out here in this open area, and then the wood will at least be somewhere nearby, as opposed to having to walk across half the map to get there. All right. So now we're going to generalize some other things, I think. These mountains worked out pretty well. And got to open our spreadsheet back up. So we got boulder B and boulder C here. And these have some unique relationships. And these kind of are doing their own thing in a way. As we go down to these rocks, and it seems like these rocks are avoiding the mountains because they're avoiding 24 through 28, which are the mountains. And then they're also avoiding these tall. These are basically tall boulders. That's the whole thing about these. So I want to rename these like tall eye candy or something like that. Ridge TEC or something like that. So we're going to call this Ridge Tall Eye Candy 1. We're going to call this Ridge Tall Eye Candy 2. And then we can, so this is, yeah, so we'll make sure that we say that DLC Boulder B goes to TEC1, Tall Eye Candy 1. All right, and then we'll redo that. And then C is Tall Eye Candy 2. So we might have other tall eye candies here. I did look at them. There's actually not as many rock options as you think if you don't include the cliffs, which is unfortunate. So for this particular biome, I think that we just have to, let's see, yeah, because we got beach and we got jungle, so we really don't have good options here. But it looks like we can put up to 2. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So let's come over here. And, oh, wrong thing. We want this. So we got this solid eye candy here. I'm not going to worry about that for now. But we are going to say constant ridge tall eye candy 1, and we have to do tall eye candy 2. And let me just put a little note for myself afterwards so I know what this stands for. Ridge Tall Eye Candy 1. So this is tall eye candy. So this is stuff that makes things look more enclosed. And Ridge Tall Eye Candy 2. Alright, and then these we are going to say they are 623. And we're going to say that the other one is 1323. So it's basically just rock 1 and rock 2. Because unfortunately, we don't have many other options for a snowy biome. I don't want to try to navigate the cliffs. I think that's biting off more than I can chew at the moment. So let's continue. So we've defined these tall eye candies. And then we have rock, rock 2, DLC boulder B, DLC boulder A, and these are short eye candies. So, and it looks like we have, what are these doing here? These have kind of a complicated story. So this is avoiding everything that came before it. These are actually all short eye candies, I think. Yeah, these are all short eye candy groups right here. And what's happening is this one is avoiding this previous one, whatever's in 31 by 1, and then so on and so forth. So we can rename all of these. So the one is Ridge short eye candy 1, and that is going to correspond to Rock, and then 2 is going to correspond to Rock 2, and then 3 is going to correspond to DLC Boulder B, and then A for the 4th one. And then, what are these down here? Oh, these are shaded differently, so they're for a different type of terrain. And they're just heavily spaced out. So I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Although this is, yeah, these are more eye candies. So I should worry about these. But I'm not going to touch the blockers, and I'm not going to touch the rocks that are in this yellowish color. So we're going to come over here and we're going to say Ridge short eye candy 1, Ridge short eye candy 2. We don't need to define it here. Ridge short eye candy 3, and Ridge short eye candy 4. And this is pretty much the maximum number of options we're going to have, again, because the desert has these sandstone rock formations that other biomes don't really have. We don't have snow rocks. So we should be able to make it work with 4 slots. Okay. And then DLC, okay, so rock 2, regular rock, and this is all on M-Toll. This is the mountain terrain overlook. So rock 2 is Ridge short eye candy 2, Ridge short eye candy. I'm really sure why we do it like that actually. I'm just going to put 1, 2, and 3 here. This is DLC Boulder A. I might need to add another one of these. We'll see. Short eye candy 3. Okay. Okay. So we'll run it. We'll have it rename everything. We've got tall eye candy, short eye candy. We'll actually put those definitions in first. Copy this. So we need 3, 4, we'll copy this tag here. Ridge, short eye candy. Oops. Two, 3, and 4. And then let's figure out whatever the constants were with the Advanced Genie editor. So we can type rock in here. And rock formation 1 corresponds to DLC boulder A. That is 1048. And this is 1040. This is going to be 1049. Pretty sure. Yeah, rock formation 2. And then the rock formation... Well, actually, I'm thinking about it. Rock formation 2 is not short, it is tall. But we will keep that anyway. Let's just check to see where we have 3 and 4. SEC 4. Yeah. Yeah, we should not have a 4th one. So we'll just change this to a 3, I guess. Actually, we'll leave it alone. We could do TEC 2. Okay. Or TEC 1, I think. Yes. There. So we'll just get rid of this. So the tall eye candy, we need to revise these numbers. So this is 1049 here, and this should be 1050. And let's verify. $10.49 and $10.50. I guess I should state it a little bit more clearly. My goal is to make it look the same, to successfully transfer these over as general parameters. And then we will change these to be whatever is appropriate. Okay. Let's just run it. Should have everything renamed. Double check to make sure that we got rid of all of the rock. Well, we could get rid of these rocks. We know what they are. Ridge, short eye candy 1, and ridge, short eye candy 2. Short eye candy 1 and ridge, short eye candy 2. There we go. And I stands for immaterial. So we got it all generalized here. Immaterial eye candy is eye candy that units can pass through. It has no collision radius. So you just walk right through it. It is immaterial. In the literal sense, not the figurative sense. Figuratively, immaterial just means irrelevant. Which I guess if you could walk through something, it's less relevant than something that you can't walk through in most cases. I think that's the etymology of the word. Okay. You just had to take a quick cat petting break. He's a good cat. Alright guys, let's see. We got the same seed here. do we have the same look? Yes, we do. It looks basically exactly the same. Okay, good. Good, good, good. So now, for our purposes, we can change these definitions. We can do that without running the object autoscriber. We don't need to do that. And in this case, we don't have any tall, any really unique tall eye candy. So we'll change that. But just make sure that we comment it appropriately so we know the difference between the tall and the short. And candidates for tall eye candy include the Jungle Rock Formation and the Beach Rock Formation, 1148 and 1149. Oh, something that I've written down is actually a broken cart. The possibility of having occasional broken carts scattered through here. Let me show that object here. Other, it's a Gaia other. To show that somebody had tried to get through there and failed, because the axle on their cart was not sturdy. So these carts are solid. You cannot put another unit on top of it, like this battle elephant can't walk over this cart. So the cart could be a good candidate for some solid eye candy up there. And it's short solid eye candy, and it would have to go further away, and it would have to be kind of small. I guess you might be able to just put a couple in here. But that could be fun. I don't think I'm going to do that right now, though. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. So, we might for, let's take a look at the tiny size. We might actually be able to define the tall eye candy as another mountain. That's possible. Like right here, this could just be another mountain. It's kind of structurally set up the same way. I don't know if it has the same respect for positioning on the ridge as other things. If we are to do that, then if it's possible that it could be a mountain, then we need to have it avoid this edge by a certain amount, or be placed within a certain distance of this invisible line right here. So that's what we have to answer, is are we willing to do that? Let's see what it would take. So it's the tall eye candy. We have 1 and 2 here. So it's not really an even number. Could be up to 6. They're placed 8 apart. And they're not told about, well, actually, they have to avoid, okay. No, they do have to avoid whatever's Yeah, you know, in a way they have sort of the same properties as this. They still have to avoid whatever's in 22 by 2 tiles, same as Mountain 1. And they are not required to be placed within a certain distance. So it might be logical or rational to adapt their actor areas as well. But they have a little bit less of an avoidance to these mountains. They only have to avoid the mountains by 8. So let's see if we can give them a similar sort of place within distance, these tall eye candies, because they kind of are like mountains in height, and their scaling is 2, and that will pull them into a certain distance instead of just having them avoid. And then we can also give them scaling factor of 2, but they'll need a series of 1s after it. They'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll need 6 1s after this one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, pull this to the right a little bit. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think we need to go 7 there. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, we did get 7. Okay. I put 6 in beyond the one that we already had. So if we did that, I think that that would improve it. We can reevaluate and see. We might actually just change this to, like, we might just lump these in with our available mountains, and that's what we might simply say that. Like, we might just say, oh, we've got this tall rock formation, it counts as a mountain. And we might just call them mountains even though they're not. So let's see how that goes. We'll run this update. But that's the direction that I'm leaning in, is to just make 8 of them. Just make 8 of them. How many? I think I have it written down another page here. I know that there are 3 snow mountains, and I think there are 6 non-snow mountains. But there's also mountains with snowy peaks. So we have to consider that. We're keeping this seed now, and we want to see, let's find a good example. We want to see if some of these taller things are kind of pulled in closer to the center here. This is maybe pulled in a little bit closer to the center of this ridge, or this. So let's see what happens. It shouldn't be too restrictive. It should still work handsomely. Yeah, look at that. That's nice. Yeah, look at that. So it pulled that out. But I don't think I'm going to transform them into mountains. It's just too big of a risk. Not enough of a reward yet. So I think we're pretty much all set to transform these rocks how we wish. We have immaterial eye candy here that we can choose appropriate for this biome. Would be nice to have the occasional cart hanging out here, but yeah. I just want to move on. I want to do more of this map. I'm itching to finish. So this is, and there's multiple pathways out too. That's kind of the cool part. You could come out this way, or you could go out this way, or you could come out this way. So you've got plenty of options. There might even be a path through here. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like there is. So it gives you that that craggy cliff feel, which is what we're going for. But for this particular version, let's put these notes in. Oops. Ridge, immaterial, eye candy, 1. Not sure how many of these we have, or should have rather. Paste those in. 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll overwrite. It's fine. Not sure why it gives me that error. So I thought maybe a cactus could be a good immaterial object as well. Don't want it too busy. But otherwise, I didn't really find a lot of stuff. We've got Sea Rocks 1, Sea Rocks 2, Cracks, 1365, Plant Dead. 1360 is this Pioneer. No, 1360 is... I don't know what 1360 is. Well, let's look it up. Bush Green. Well, it's 1361. Bush Dry. Aha. What happens if I put 1361? So maybe we do a couple more of these. Maybe we do one more. So there's 6 of them. Thir 1365 Plant Dead. So we will add Bush Dry here. Eye Candy 5, and then 6. $13.61. We can kind of choose how many different things we want. I'm actually going to double this. I'm going to go up to 12. 12 is a good number. It's evenly divisible. If we had, 3 or 4 or 6 different things available, they would all be divisible by 12. We could go up to 24, I'm thinking. Yeah, you know what? Let's go up to 24 just to be safe in case we've got 8. But I don't think we're going to use all of that. You know what? It's too much. I'm not going to go up to 24. I'll go up to 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. So we essentially just repeated everything, but we could set stuff equal to invisible placeholders or whatever we want to do. 12 should be good. All right, so So these are immaterial placeholders. And they really don't have much going for them here. We have 5 currently, and they were spaced at 4. So the products should be the same. So it's 20, so if we had 12, we'd space them at 2, and that would be slightly, no, 8, sorry. So let's continue that until we get to 12. And we'll copy a lot of this stuff that is on the mountain overlook terrain, because that's really where we're going to see it. The other stuff is pretty thin. The other terrains are pretty thin. And we are going to do spacing of 8 here. And that should be sufficient. We don't have any active areas in there. We don't really care about that. It's unlikely that they'll all be piled up in the same place. But even if they were, it wouldn't. The important thing is that it wouldn't hurt anything, because they are immaterial. You can walk over them. They're not going to block something. So we've essentially just repeated from 389. But again, we could change these numbers around. We've got we don't have a broken card in there. We could potentially put the broken card in there, but I will do that kind of in a separate step, I think, to have broken carts that are 1 tile away. They must be a tile away from any solid object. So there won't be too many places where the broken carts could spawn. Maybe like a broken cart right here, for instance, in front of this, where this elephant is looking. But there's not going to be a lot of stuff. Okay, so let's rerun that. See, should look pretty good. It's okay to have a little bit of bush green up in there. All right, all written. And now we generate, we should see that these sandstones have gone away. Unless we failed to change the constant, which we can totally update that right now. But we got cracks, we got bushes. So let me change those around. Actually, I'm concerned that we're not seeing more of these rocks and dead plants up here. I guess you can see it more from this direction. Rock and yeah. All right, well, let's open our spreadsheet and see if we can space that out a little bit better. Since we're here, might as well do it now. They have tent min distance group placement of 8 from other stuff, but they otherwise have no avoidances. So we've got 12 of them here, and they're spaced 8 apart, so we'll have them avoid by half of this distance. We'll avoid all others. Maybe we decrease that to, well, maybe we decrease that to 2. Or even 1. Alright, let's just copy something and paste it over here. So this first one is going to have no avoidances at all. It'll get placed first. So just have it avoid a 46, 42, and we will have it avoid by 4. We get spacing or scaling of 1. Whoops. We not F4 this. There we go. Oops. F4. Try to more uniformly distribute these. Oh. Ah, dang, we did that all wrong. This is supposed to... Oh, no, not all wrong, just slightly wrong. Yeah, so we need 46 in the first argument here, because it starts in 42. 46, 46, 46, 46, 46, 46, 46, 46. All right, nice pyramid. These distances could be a little large, but they are easy to change. I think I need to change these to 1. I think 1 is kind of the safe place to start out. That looks about like what it was. It's good. A little bit of a bush here. The bush doesn't have any snow on it, which is unfortunate. This bush is snowing. But this bush is also solid, and I don't want these bushes to be solid here. I want people to be able to walk out, no problem. It does look a little bit weird that the islands are overhanging the map edge, doesn't it? Now that could be an opportunity to improve the map later, but I'm not going to mess with that right now. Okay. So now we change the tall eye candies to 623 and 1323. And we change this 1048 to another short eye candy. Maybe we make that the cart here. Well, the tall eye candies are going to tend to be more isolated. You know what? Let's give it a try. Why not? Let's make it 858 and see what happens. So we're going to lose all of these sandstone formations now. And that should leave us just with regular rocks. Yeah, very perilous crossing indeed. Well, no, that's not going to work. That's too many carts. You get this many carts and it looks like you got a troll up here in the mountains eating travelers. So we don't quite want that. Let's come back here and let's set that equal to 1323 again. We want more of these rock 2s, I think, than... delete that. More than the rock 1s. But, maybe we set one of these tall eye candies equal to the cart. See how that works out. The cart is 858. Let's give that a try. But I have a feeling it's still going to be too many. It's not too bad, actually. There's a cart there. Ah, no, but that's too many here. It's too many carts. Yeah. Too many carts. That's fine. So we will do 623. So it is viewed how it's meant to be viewed. And we will also change this bush. What is it? Bush green 1361. Let's change that to the ice object. So it looks colder. And we're going to call that 728 ice navigable. So we're going to go from 1361 to 728, I think. Yeah, 728. Yeah, look at that. And we could do that with the other bush, too. We should do that with the other bush. You can't really see the ice on this side. But you can see it here. So we'll do that with the other bush as well. So that's the beauty of having so many of these defined. So the other bush is 1360, I believe. And we're going to change that to 728 as well. And you can walk all over that ice. Walk all over the ice all day. Yep, it's converted to an ice chunk. Now, you know, we might be able to introduce maybe a pine tree as a second object here. I'm just kind of thinking out loud for the possibility of having some trees up here, potentially. That could be a lot of fun. Could add to the immersion a bit. Why don't we come back to our spreadsheet and see what can be done here? It's going to be second object stuff. And we got solid eye candy 1, solid eye candy 2, solid eye candy 3. And then we got all these immaterial eye candies. But there is the potential to put some second objects in here. You can get rid of that. We don't need that definition. Tall eye candy 1. So we would put like tall second object 1 or something like that. Yeah, let's get to work on that. Tall SO1. Second object 2. Short, tall, short, second object, yeah. Short, second object, SSO1. So second object 1, 2, and 3. What is this here? This is sort of treated like the tall object. So I guess we put this here. And this is second object. So we'll put that there. And I guess we'll copy this and put this here. Short eye candy 1, second objects. Okay, and then there, just like that. These are on different terrain types. Nah. Not the right color. I wanted this one. There we go, light yellow. So these second objects, I think we're gonna have them be bushes or trees. They're not going to be harvestable. That's okay. So we should come up. We'll drag this spreadsheet over here. I'll still be able to see it, and we'll work on that. Okay. So the constant. This is ridge, tall, second object 1, and we need We need 2 of these. So we only have 2 first tall objects. So we'll paste that in there. Tall second object 2. And actually, let's label these 2 for good measure. Oops. Ridge, tall, second, object 1. We'll give this one a 2 here. Short second object 1, short second object 2, and then we need short second object 3. We have to define them as something, because if we don't define them as something, it will cause problems. Oh, these need to be called short. Trees will show up better if they're short second. Oh, if they're short. We're not going to have a ton of stuff here for everything. It's I'm just going to have the occasional item here. So we'll give this one snow pine tree, and that's going to be it for that. So let's find the snow pine tree. That's 413, 413. And this one is this one's going to be 278. It's going to be our on-grid placeholder. And then this one is going to be an African bush, maybe. Actually, we really could just, well, no, we can't, actually. I was going to say we could call them tree 1, tree 2, and tree 3, but we may want to make these different from traditional trees. So we're going to leave that as open. But this will tell us what we've got here. So we're going to do 1054 for this one. And then we're going to do 278 for this and 278 for that. Okay, let's update the program and see if we have the occasional tree scattered into these mountains up here. Okay, it has written to the file. Our objects have been updated. We can go on the random generation, that's fine. What do we have? Yeah, look at that. It's like Christmas up here. Little hard on the, a little heavy on the pines, maybe. But I like that a lot. That looks really good. You can never chop these trees, but you gotta have pine trees in the mountains, right? What kind of mountains would these be if they didn't have pine trees in them? Just a few, not too many. Oh, right. I'm excited about that. I think we're basically done with that, which is good. And it helps give it the snowy feel too. Helps make it look nice and chilly, which is what we want. So now all we got to do is just put the stone in. We'll tell the stone to be placed on this shelf terrain here. It needs to avoid the relic, and it will need to avoid these by a certain distance. And I don't think we're going to put a resource delta in. I think it should be fine without it. Unless we wanted to put more stone on the map, but I don't think we do. But again, the beauty of this is that this is general. So now we can go in and we can just change the definitions. We can get different things to come down over here. So. All right. We'll come bring our spreadsheet back up. And we could get rid of all this, actually. We're very happy with what we have. So we'll delete this. We'll delete these. We don't need these. We don't even need these. This is pretty glorious. Got all these objects playing together really nicely. So we got this stone. Now, the blockers need to be, okay, good, they're unconvertible. That's good. Let's take one more look at this. Do we want to put a trade card in here somewhere, a broken cart? I think that could be some nice flavor. I think it could be some really nice flavor, actually. Let's do it. Let's put a broken card in here, and we'll put the stone in at the same time. Just 'cause I think it would be a really, really nice touch to have the occasional broken cart show up in here. Nothing fancy. Maybe they're, you know, maybe they're 24 tiles apart, so they can't possibly block everything off. I guess they could appear at inconvenient places, but if there's only one of them, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I feel like we give enough passageways through here. It should be all right. Okay. And we're going to define the broken cart because basically every single every single version of this map is going to have it, regardless of the season. So we're going to do 54, and we're going to say broken cart. And it actually might be predefined that way. There's not a convenient way to check except to pull up the reference spreadsheet. I guess we'll do that. We'll do that now. But the reference spreadsheet gets closed every time I run the objects generation, which is unfortunate. But that's just how it works. Okay, let's find broken cart. Yeah, it's literally just broken cart. So we don't even need the number there. It's predefined. It's what I thought. It's predefined, just as I suspected. So we'll keep a lot of this other stuff here. On the mountain overlook, maybe we set them to be 16 tiles apart. And our only requirement is that they avoid by 1 everything that is solid. Let's try that first. And maybe the broken cart gets placed on top of some ice or something. I guess it doesn't really matter, but we can immaterial eye candy right there. Let's insert rows above, and tell you what, we'll put these after the broken cart. So we'll cut that out there. We'll put that there, and we could actually put the stone down first too. That would probably be pretty smart. Insert rows above, and then we'll put the stone right here. So we'll just do the eye candy at the very last. The broken cart can be convertible because nothing is going to try to convert it. They're inherently unconvertible. And we are just going to require that these broken carts they avoid these. Well, let's do everything except for the blockers, essentially. They don't need to avoid the mountains. We'll have them avoid these. And we'll have them avoid these. F4 there. So it jumps from 36 to 39 by 1. And that's it. That's all there is to them. Because we want to show that passage over this escarpment, this ridge, would be a better word actually. It's not really a sharp cliff. Passage over the ridge is non-trivial. And now we're putting the stone down. We're having it avoid whatever's in 1, 2, 3, and 4, each by 1 tile, or 3 tiles, sorry. And we'll give that a go for our first pass. Temp min distance replacement of 1. And we'll see if people can put mining camps in there. If they can't, then we'll have to mess with that stone. So there is some stone in here. It's actually not too bad, I don't think. The avoidance to the relic is a little large, but yeah, the stone does show up here. And we do get these broken carts. They show up periodically, so that's even better. The broken carts are not really terribly essential, so I don't really care if they fail to make an appearance on every corner. There's one here, and there's one on the opposite side. There, you know, because it could have just as easily been a rock, so who cares? It's not going to block anything, so we know it's avoiding everything else by 1. We have the stone in the corners. We can always dial up the amount of stone that this is. Actually, we really should make sure that this stone is not too close to these boulders. Because as it stands right now, this stone actually does block the players from getting out this way. The other possibility is that we tell the stone to avoid the map edge, so that they're kind of guaranteed to be able to go around it. I think that maybe that's what we have to do. On the larger sizes, it should be okay. So for instance, if we generated on an 8-player map size, there would be even more stones going on. And you see, this is just fine. But we need to implement some avoidance there of these rocks. So let's try to be smart about that. We could tell the stone to avoid this outer ridge by a certain distance, but we don't really care about that. Fundamentally, what we care about are these rocks right here. So let's just tell the stone, and I believe these are mountain overlook terrain rocks. So let's just tell the stone to avoid that. So this stone avoids the relics, avoids them by 3. This is necessary, I believe, to be able to fit a mining camp in here. But maybe we have it avoid the relics by 1, and we tell it to avoid everything else by 3. So let's have it avoid by 1, and then now let's also ask that the stone avoid all of these objects by like 2. Guess we could tell the stone to avoid the broken card as well. Whatever. Okay. F4, 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 and F4. And oh my goodness, so much avoidance. So it's avoiding 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Yikes. Well, let's keep it like this because we won't have to go out and count that, but I suspect that we're going to have to change this to 2. Let's just do it now. Keep the seed. Generate it. These stones should properly avoid the rocks by 2, which they do, so that's a win. I guess you maybe could try to quick wall somebody in here, but I think there's enough stone where it would be an issue. The problem is, you know, these narrower choke points in here. All right, let's go to tiny and see how that looks, because that's the one where there's the biggest risk of stone failing to spawn. Oh no, it still spawns. Okay, good. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they can kind of count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can count 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to be tracking. They're going to be keeping track of how much stone is here. So what did we say it was? 2? Let's change it to 1 so that I don't have to. I think 1 could actually work for everything, and that would be pretty simple. I'm pretty sure that it's at 2. But no, we can't change it. It is at 2 for this stone, but we can't change it to 1, because if we do, then there will be no legal location to build mining camps in here, and then the players will complain. So the mule carts will be able to get in here okay for those new civs, but those civs are banned from the Alchemy League. We need traditional civs to be able to play this map as well. So we will go through and make that update. Okay, so we're gonna put how many of these are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I did count that correctly. So we're going to have relic avoidance by 2. We need 4 2s here. And then we need 10 1s. So here goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Oh, and we might as well include the eye candies as well. These numbers will automatically update to where they're supposed to be because of how we did the referencing with the F4s and the dollar signs. So we save it. All right, updated. Here we go. So it should be closer to the rocks, same distance from the relics. Yes. 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 And yes. Very good. I doubt at this point they're going to count the stone piles. I think there will be enough stone at that point that it will not matter. Other possibility is I could actually make some of these solid objects here stone mines, but I don't want to do that because these objects could also be spawned the same as these objects in the same command. So I don't really want to mess with that currently. And, you know, the map is not going to be played tiny size often, I don't think. It's just one of the options that we have to support. So let's see, this Boyar could, yeah, he can get through. He can get through. He's got actually multiple paths. Come out that way too. All right. Well, how about that? 2 hours later, and the ridges are done. We're really happy with these ridges. It looks fantastic. Looks like it could be some Mongolian mountain. Who knows? Some mountain in Mongolia. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when I return, we will continue with the objects generation for this map. Yeah, I think I'll take a quick break. I'll go and refill my water and feed the cat and put him out. And I will be back in about 5 minutes. And when I return, we will work on the neutral objects for this map. So we'll put down, yeah, we got the eye candy down too for these ridges, so that's good news. So we'll work on potentially some eye candy for, not really so much eye candy, but we got to put animals, and we got to put maybe some forage bushes in here, although not that many, honestly. And then we'll also put a little eye candy in here. We'll have to give the player assigned resources. Not that there will be that many of them. There aren't that many on this map. Oh, we got to do the fish, and we got to do the gold in the outlying dunes. But that won't be too bad. So I'll be right back. Give me about 5 minutes, guys, and then we'll keep working at it. All right, come on, little cat. Let's get you your supper. Okay, I'm back, guys. Thank you for hanging tight. I am back, and we will continue with our scripting project. Oop. Okay. All right, let's see. So, what do we do next? I think the next thing that we have to do is we have to put the relics down in the center. We do this to reward people for taking control of the water. All right. Insert rows above. So we'll continue this, and we need to say, in any biome, it's going to be a relic, so we can just put relic here. For the terrain, let's see. Terrain is going to be this inner cap terrain. So we'll copy all of this stuff over. We always give more than enough objects. Almost always give more than enough objects. Okay, let's say inner cap. Temp min distance group placement, we're going to say that that's 8. And we're going to specify, actually for the relic, we're going to say that we want one group only. But we are going to scale it to map size. So I don't know if one group only is going to do the trick, because there are different scaling factors that are applied depending on the map size, but we can play with this. We have a couple of parameters at our disposal. We could change the group quantity, and we can change the scaling factor. We're going to set the scaling factor at 2 for now. This relic will be placed on the inner cap. There are no relationships that we want it to have with anything else, so we'll delete that. We'll delete this. Now, interestingly, we could choose to put this relic exactly at the center if we wanted to, but I think what we have is sufficient because we already have the inner cap terrain there. And that is its own unique terrain. And that is already positioning the relic kind of in the center. Although the terrain is not going to be perfect, the relic will be placed somewhere on that terrain, which is in this elliptical shape in the center. And the effort required to get to that relic is large compared to the effort required to walk that extra distance. So in most cases, in order to get to that relic, you'll have to build a dock, you'll have to make a transport ship, you have to send a monk over, and that process of building the dock, making the transport ship, thinking to load the monk, pick up the relic, load the monk back, and then move back, that is large compared to walking 4 tiles, left or right, if the relic is a little bit off center. We'll see how it looks, because in not all of the biomes will you be required to build a transport ship to gain access to the relics. So that's one thing that we want to introduce, which is the relic. And we also want to introduce fish, although in this case, we really only want the fish in the shallows and we want them maybe to be adjacent to the edge of the pond. So I think that we have a placeholder on this beach. We essentially want the fish to be adjacent to that placeholder, maybe within one of that placeholder. So these are going to be little tiny shore fish, if you will. And I'm trying to think if there is a situation, maybe we want, let's just do, we'll do small fish, and we will define it. So we'll do small fish for now. And we will define the small fish as whatever the shore fish are. And we'll copy this over. And we'll consider what kind of terrains we have available to us. We don't want the small fish on the mountain terrain. And actually, I think that we're going to have to do on grid here. We're going to have to put the small fish as a second object. And they could be small fish or they could be box turtles. So we'll leave that open. The terrain is very important. Let's see if we can figure out what terrain they'll be on. So we got this real beach, and then we're we're applying water type. So do we put, are we putting the small, I guess we're putting the small fish on water type. So we will put water type here. And we will hope that that is it. And the fish can, the shore fish can be 8 tiles apart from each other. That's fine. We don't need all of this. We just need to say that the fish, yeah, let's delete that, should be placed within one of whatever placeholder we have on that wet beach. And so we need to find that beach placeholder. And that's right up here because we were doing, oh no, it's the stragglers. That's what we ended up putting on this beach terrain. No, wait. BT? Oh, these are outland stragglers. Trio reed. Okay, so the tree reed. So this is what we got. This is just the outland stragglers here. So, okay. I'm wondering if we should use distance to other zones. I'm trying to remember if distance to other zones, it works well in this case, but I don't think that it does. So I think that we just need to place the fish next to these tree reeds. So we will specify A12. And yeah, we're gonna copy something. Let's just copy this for now. And we will place that here. And we will just say A12. We generally don't have as much in here. And we'll place it within one of whatever's in A12. Scaling factor of 1, that's fine. And we will highlight this as red because it is a food source. Hopefully that's not too bright. Maybe we should make it salmon colored. Be a lighter red. All right, that's good. So these colors here in the numbers never last because I'm always activating and deactivating stuff. So we'll check for the relics. We'll check for the small fish. We'll get rid of this. Let's go in and define small fish. And in this case, that's ridge object definitions. We're going to do pond object definitions. Okay, then we're going to have constant small fish, and that's going to be shore fish. But again, we could do box turtles. Shore 69. You know, maybe we should just let it be shore fish, and then in the case of the mangrove shallows and the the Islanders, the Polynesian. We could upgrade it to like box turtles. Whatever. 69. We're here already. We'll just save that as is. And okay, let's run it and see how we look here. So the fish will be next to the reeds, but it's not that big of a deal. It'll be next to the reeds on the water. Writing to file. All right, let's see what we get. Did the fish show up? Yes, the fish did show up. They're a little bit far apart, I think. I think 6 would be better. But there are some small fish. The relic also showed up. Let's do a few more generations and see how the relic looks. In this case, the shorefish is right here next to these reeds, because the reeds can show up in here. Okay. Yeah, not too many fish though. Not too many fish, just a few. Just gotta be fair. I will put a little bit more in for fish though. I think I'll space them by 6, and I think that'll be sufficient. I'm also happy with this relic. Seems to be equidistant between players, which is good. Now we generate on a giant map size and see how the relics look. Okay, yeah, that's really not bad. And it's essentially 4 more relics, so that's 8 relics total. It's not an insane, out-of-control number of relics. Oh! In this case, only 1 relic shows up. Well, I guess it's the narrower version, but still. Dang. But again, I'm not too worried about it. I don't, it's not really particularly necessary to have a certain number of relics. And Lithuanians should be strong anyway on this map, because it is a hybrid map, and they will do the Instadoc. They'll get their early fishing bonus and everything. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. These relics are a little bit in bias of blue, but the distance is large. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But let's go down a size and see how it looks for large. We also get the 4. That's good. Oh man, look at these ridges. Gorgeous. Yeah, this looks really good. I am very happy with how this turned out. Okay, yep. So it looks good. All right. Got small fish defined as 69, but that's not what we want. I'm going to open up this file again. And let's continue this. Let's shrink this to 6. So that'll be fine. We will add the large fish now. And the large fish Okay. You know, I'm thinking we could have different varieties of large fish. I don't really know if I care enough about that. I guess I do. I guess I do care. It's not, you know, it's not really in a complex part of the script, so I can afford to care about it. It won't really waste a lot of time. So we'll paste that there. And we want to put this on, I think, what is it, outer cap? And we're going to have large fish here. And we're going to do large fish 1, and we'll do 2 types of large fish that we're going to give. So we'll do large fish, large fish 1, and we'll do large fish 2. We'll place them on outer caps. We'll get rid of this. We don't need that. And we will copy these over. Large fish 1 and then large fish 2. We have to have the off-grid placeholder as the first object because the large fish are a 2x2 square. And if we put the off-grid, it'll basically take the center of that 2x2 square, which is actually off-grid. It's in this X. Whereas with the small fish, they're a 1x1 square, so if we tried to do off-grid in the center, then it would basically be cutting the boxes in half. So it's hard to describe exactly. Okay, so we're spacing these 8 apart, and we can actually look and see what was done for the original Karga, because we don't want to go overboard on the fish. We don't want too many fish. They're smelly. Oh shoot, this isn't the right one. This is a backup file that I created before I was sure that stuff was going to work properly. Okay. So, here we go, the fish. The fish have resource delta minus 100. Okay. And so let's give them that. So actually we can't give them resource delta minus 100, can we? Because they're second objects. So that's actually not doing anything over there, which is kind of funny. So I guess we'll just ignore that, because resource delta doesn't work on second object. But we could, if we wanted to, go into effect amount and decrease the amount of food in the fish. But we don't need to do that. Okay. The big thing is how many fish are there. So let's take a look again. And we have them on the 2 different terrain types, water and the shallows. And they're placed 6 apart. And the one avoids the other by 3. So we're gonna place these fish 6 apart. Where is it? And then one is going to avoid the other by 3. And I think that these fish have... What is keeping these fish away from the beach? Let's see. I don't know that there's anything keeping the fish away from the beach. They don't even have a force distance associated with them. All right, well, so be it. I guess the fish are, I guess it must just be that we're really good about making sure that new shallow isn't, well, no, because if they're being placed in new shallow, then, well, let me think about this. I don't know. Maybe it's that new shallow because there's kind of a shallow point in the center of the water, and that's what the relic sits on. So maybe we just did a really good job of making sure that the center of this pond was shallow and that the water was spaced some distance away from something else. That would be my best guess as to how that was achieved last time. Okay. So we'll see what happens with this first, with them being placed on the outer cap. We'll rely on terrains to figure that out for us. We're also going to copy this here, and we're just going to paste this down here for the large fish. And we're going to update this from 48 to 62. And that is going to tell this large fish 2 to avoid whatever's in row 58, which corresponds to the absolute row 62. We're going to have it avoid by 3. Save it, and then we could run to check, make sure that we get this fish right. Fish is a big deal. So we'll have to go in and define the fish. We cannot leave them undefined, even if we are not going to have... I actually don't plan on having the fish for this particular biome, because I think it's too strong for villagers to be able to get to the fish. And in this case, because the pond is going to be frozen, you could just walk right out to the fish and collect them with villagers, which is not what we want. So we're going to define the fish as an empty placeholder. But for now, we will define them as regular fish so that we can get an idea of where they'll be and whether or not it will be acceptable. So fish Dorado, fish perch is 53. William Wally says, what is this game? Hey, William Wally. Welcome. This is Age of Empires 2. I'm not playing Age of Empires 2. I'm making a random map script for it. So if you scroll back in the video, you'll see that I was working on the mountain ridges that the players are going to cross over. So we're going to define the first one as 53 and the second one as 450, I guess. Or 450 and 451. 53 and 450. Okay, so let's do constant large fish 1. And then we'll do constant, and I'm going to switch back over to the game here really soon, so you'll be able to see large fish 2. And we had said what? We said 53. 53 and 450. Thanks. Here we go. So we're back into the game. We've got our stuff defined. Now let's hit generate and see if our map renders the fish. And if it does, where they are. So as you can see, these fish are kind of scattered around everywhere. It seems that the fish do not exercise restraint about avoiding the shore. This could be because we have essentially beach all out here. It's icy beach. So that's why the fish are not really able to concentrate away from the shores, because the shore is actually coming to them. And we don't want these big fish in here, because it'll turn this into a massive fish fest. And that's not what we want. So let's define these as empty objects for now, because I don't have the terrains to deal with that. So this is one of those things we might have to come back to later for the deep fish. See, like this is good. We could always add perhaps a terrain dependence, or we could tell these fish to avoid this beach terrain by a certain distance, and then that really would focus them more toward the center. So maybe that's what we do for the time being, is we just tell the fish to stay away from the reeds by a certain distance. You could call it forest avoidance if you want, but that's essentially what it is. And that'll give us a good idea of what it will do later on. I think that, again, I think this forest is a lot dragged into the center by this ice, because this ice is a legal beach terrain for this particular biome. So let's make those adjustments. So we have to tell these fish to avoid those reeds. So we will copy this. We'll paste that up there. The reeds are whatever this is, a 12. Okay, so we'll change this 6 to a 1, and we'll have it avoid those reeds by, well, how far apart are the reeds? Tree reed, they are 3 apart, so therefore if we avoid them by 4, then we will be guaranteed to not be placed exactly in between 2 of them, just barely. So we have to avoid by 4. And then we have to add a 12 to this. And we have to avoid that by 4 as well. So now these fish are instructed to avoid those placeholders on the beach. In this case, happen to be reeds. And they are instructed to avoid it by 4. We could give them a forest avoidance, but it is not necessary, because we know that they can only appear in the water, and there are no other trees in the water. But if we gave them a forest avoidance, they would still be measuring to every other tree on the map, which would be less computationally efficient. So we're just going to have them avoid that particular set of trees. The reeds are considered trees because you can gather wood from them. All right. So that should be good. And we'll run it, and we should confirm, after we make that update, that this fish essentially can't come out here anymore, and it must essentially be concentrated all around the center here. So there's not going to be a lot of deep fish. It will not be near the reeds. And even in this case, again, I really am skeptical that the beach is this messy. I think that if we had a normal map with no ice, that the beach would strictly adhere to the edge, which is what we want. All right, let's check and see if it ran. It did run. So we are going to hit generate. Aha! Okay, yep. So that is about what I was expecting and hoping for. We get occasional fish that comes toward the center, but it's pretty good at being kept away from the reeds. There's nothing stopping villagers from coming out here and taking this, although, except for the long distances. So maybe this is acceptable, because, I mean, hear me out. You cannot dock, or you cannot build a mill in here. So we come in here, we go to build a mill. Let's say that villagers wanted to take this deep fish by building a mill here. You can't. You can't build a mill. So you could build a mill here, and then you could send your villager out, and you could walk out there and you could take the fish. Do you guys know if fish can be stored in that stupid, what is it, the mule cart or whatever it is? Can fish be stored in mule carts? Let's check that. If that's true, then this would mess up my plan. But my plan is that maybe, you know, you build your mill here with the intent to take some shore fish. It's a little bit of a walk, but it's not that bad. We could get a closer mill going. You know, we could place that mill. Where is it? Right here. We could put a mill probably right here. Okay, just like that. And we could have a villager come out, and this wouldn't be too bad to walk, because the villagers do take shore fish very quickly. Let's get the villager going. Come on, villager, give it to me. Here we go. So this guy could come out here, he could walk out this way, you know, take the fish and then walk back to the mill. But he could, although he technically has a path to get to the center here, he could walk out this way if you built a mill right here, and then he could take this shore fish, but then he'd have to walk all the way back, and so it would be very inefficient. I believe he can cross this. I'm not sure. So it might not actually be a big problem, is what I'm saying here, to put this deep fish in. Maybe on the smaller map sizes it would be a problem. We'll have to look at that. But if they build a dock, villagers could build a dock. They can't build a mill in here, but they should be able to dock this. Let's see. Yes. So you can build docks out here. And by building docks out here, you can get, because it's on the ice, it's icy beach, you can get closer to these fish. Actually, the villager could build the dock and then take the deep fish directly, huh? And we don't want that. So I think that for this case we'd have to just disable these. Dang. Because you can now drop off fish at docks in a way that you could not before. So for this case, are these fish too close together? In a general case, imagine that this were just open water. I think that we need to actually separate the fish a bit more. We need to separate the fish a bit more, so let's do that. And yeah, they're spaced 6 apart. The small fish are also spaced 6 apart. Let's space the deep fish 8 apart, and let's give them 4 tile spacing. And I think that will be fine. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. We will adjust the fish later. We'll change these to just be an innocent placeholder terrain, or not terrain, but object. But now let's think about the berries. We kind of have a frozen wasteland here, so I'm not really sure how many berries we want to put down. I think we're still going to put down berries. And this almost looks like it almost looks like we could put down cranberries, you guys. We could have a little bog out here, and we could have lots of cranberries, berry bushes on the mangrove shallows. But this isn't really set up for that. So we'll put some maybe like food 1 and food 2. We're essentially going to put down, I think, 4 of them. And we can space them a distance from forests in this case. Have them avoid the trees. And there are certain trees that are on certain terrains, but I think I want them to avoid all trees by a certain amount. And it should not be that big of a deal if the distance is small. Maybe we give them forest avoidance of 1, for instance. So we will, we're going to do pond object definitions. So I think we're all set with that. We're going to define some other objects here. We're going to do oasis object definitions. Okay. And we're maybe going to call it food source 1. Yeah. Food source 1. And there's all kinds of different I don't want to specify 4 different types of terrain to put this on. But if I don't, the alternative is that it will basically just go everywhere. So I would have to tell it to avoid other types of terrain. I'd have to tell it to avoid the gravel. Now, we're just going to put it on every type of terrain for the oasis. So we're going to do food source 1, constant food source 2, constant food source 3, constant food source 4, constant food source 5, constant food source 6. Let me think about this here for a second. So we need food sources for the oasis. We can have berries. We can have a fruit bush. We can have deer of some kind. We can have boar of some kind. But I think that we want the boar to be biased further away from the players. Well, I mean, to be fair, these are all going to be biased further away from the players. Let's see, what other sources of food do we have? Well, we had fruit bushes. So we had fruit bushes, berries. Oh, I already said fruit bushes. Oops. And deer, and those are kind of the neutral. So I guess if we want to treat them with respect, we want to separate them out. I guess I'm just going to say just going to call them bush food 1. We'll call them bush food 1 and bush food 2. And one of these is going to be, well, we're going to set them both equal to forage, but again, I'll set one equal to a placeholder later because I don't want there to be a lot of berries. So let's type in forage and see what we get. Forage bush is 59. So we'll do 59 and 59. And save that. Okay. So we have bush food 1 and bush food 2. bush food 2. Okay, we don't need to define them here. In fact, we should not define them here. And we can copy a lot of this other stuff along. We will paste that down here. Okay, the terrain that we are going to place these on, we actually have several different types of terrain. So we have RT1 through 4, essentially. I don't think we want to put them on RT1 because that is literally the innermost ring, and that we've got fish in here. But RT2 through 4 should be legal locations. And we're, of course, going to have these berries avoid each other as well. I think the forest might be too thick for these berries in the second, even in the second ring. But we'll see. See how it looks. Okay. So we should have like RT. No, we don't. But in our script file, we should have RT1 through the rest. So 2, 3, 4. So RT, we're just going to put these on RT2. And temp min distance group placement 8. No, let's give them 24. Let's make it quite large. And these are neutral sources of food, so we need them to avoid the player town center as well. And they're kind of starting to get into a layer where they're getting close to the player town center. So therefore we will delete this and we'll work on this here. And the town center for the players is, I believe, yeah, it's A9. So it is in, it's saying avoid the 5th row by 4, but instead of 4, we're going to tell them to avoid it by 30. Yeah, maybe 28. And we're not going to need to scale that at all. And this is RT2. So they're essentially going to be putting all this stuff on ring terrain. And I guess we could have deer end up being next to berries. I suppose I don't care too much about that. So we copy that and paste that there. And then this also avoids this. And they are spaced 24 apart, so we'll have it avoid by 12. And we make sure that we have a space here. Otherwise, it might get confused. Okay. And let's do the rest of the bushes as well. So we will need 4 more of those. We'll copy these. Paste those in there. This is going to be RT3, RT3, RT4, RT4. Spaced 24 apart. Just like that. And then we're going to update these to have some additional avoidances. Let's go A65, and then we're going to F4 that. Okay, and then avoidance of 12. So the only difference between these is that they're on different terrains, and they're all avoiding each other by 12 tiles. We should get something pretty nice. Remember that one of these bush foods is going to be defined as a placeholder, so their spacing is actually going to be effectively twice as large. There's not a lot of food here. It's a frozen wasteland. So, but of course, if it doesn't look right, then we will have to introduce some more. All right, one more. All right, let's run that and see what we get. See how that looks. So we did not give these bushes forest avoidance, which was a mistake. We also could give them greater avoidance to player town centers. I think 32 would be warranted. We could try to have them avoid the desert, but I don't. It's not really that important. And we could put them in groups of 2. We could increase the amount of food that they have in them. Let's see how it looks on a tiny map size. We should also note that the fish in the center will be less dense. That looks more reasonable. So we will change that fish to just be an empty placeholder. Yeah, because ultimately these are neutral berries. But that does look good. I approve of that. Unfortunately, we can't cover the berries in snow. But remember that we're going to have half as many ultimately. Okay, so also at the ends of the oasis, we'll have to define predators. These predators will prevent players from walling this up, unless you're Magyars. But Magyars would really suck on this map. This map is... Magyars thrive in situations where mobility is required, but for this map, you know, build a castle or a town center on your gold out here, and then just fortify. Have your army camp the wood, and you're basically set. If he runs past your army, you're going to see it. You can come out here and, you know, but a siege isn't going to run past your army. So, you know, as long as you take the proper precautions, you shouldn't have to worry about getting raided on this map. Oh yeah, look at this. So Winter Wonderland. Okay, let's come back to our spreadsheet. our handy-dandy spreadsheet that we revere so greatly. And we need to tell these to avoid forests by 1. Actually, I don't think we can tell them to do it by 1. I think we have to do it by 2. Let's see what that produces. And tell them to avoid the player's starting areas by more. 32 would be a good number, I think. It's getting dark in my room. I'll have to turn on a light. This winter, the days are short. Okay. And could introduce additional features at this time. We could do the same thing with deer, I think. We'll call them lurables, though. We won't call them deer. And again, we'll have 2 types of them, because I think that's all that we need. Maybe we'll have more than 2, because on maps like this, there aren't going to be as many berries. I would like to compensate for it by having more deer available. That is more actor areas and relationships that we have to sort out. Let's take our time. Let me continue to mull that over while we update this. See how much space is even available. And the other thing too is we could put animals out here, but we won't. I don't really want to put so many of them out here. They're mostly going to be near the watering hole. It's the more logical place to hang out, and there's shelter, there's trees and stuff. So why would animals hang out over here when they could hang out in here? I guess maybe you could have some goats up here living in the mountains, because that's what goats like. We'll have to think about that. Let me know if you have any suggestions or opinions about how to do that. So let me run this update. Okay, it's all set. And let's generate now. Did we not update the number of objects to 2? Oops. All right. Oh well. Well, it's pretty easy to see that the effect that has. I think I might just increase the amount of food in these forage bushes and just be happy with that without increasing the number of them. So it'll be maybe a little bit awkward to take from, but I don't want this to get too cluttered up in here, and I already think that this is the light version. This is not the jungle version. There's some placeholders in here that don't have trees. So it's bound to be even more dense than this. The other thing about the forest avoidance is, well, we could try it. If we increase this number of objects to 2, it's essentially avoiding the center of that group. So this other object could come over here and just connect with this forest somewhere else. So it would diminish the effectiveness of our forest avoidance. That's not to say that we couldn't find places to put these. I think we could. So let's try it. Let's open up the spreadsheet. We'll give it a try. Yes, it does have legal locations to put these berries, so we will try that. Forest distance, we will bump this up to 3. It matters more for these forage bushes because you can't move them. Animals you can move. You either chase deer away if you need to build somewhere, or the boars will get out of the way, but forage bushes will not get out of the way in case you need to build something there. Now, what do we think about the actual distance that these resources are to the player town centers? I think that that is very fair. I think that that is a good number. I'm proud of that number. We want to stick with that number. We're going to change these fish to be an empty placeholder, though, before I forget. Well, let's just do that right now. So we come in here and large fish 1 and large fish 2, so we're just going to change that to 647. And 647. So be an invisible placeholder, it will not affect anything. And these are both going to be forage bushes. Oh, we'll give them a resource delta too. We'll give them a resource delta of 175 so that each one has 6. Well, no, that's, well, nah, we'll give them 125 resource delta, and there will be 2 of them. So it is as though there were 4 berries in each clump because each bush has 125 food in it. So we'll give them that resource delta as well. And this will affect it because they are first objects. So resource delta is going to be 125. We could specify a min and a max here so that it's random. That would be pretty wild. That would be fun. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that right now. It becomes, the map kind of becomes a little mega random-y. That's even a way of saying things. So we're placing them on these 3 layers. This is all red. Oops. Light red. There we go. We'll remove the fill on this. No fill. We'll change these all to the red. It's fine. Okay. Maybe that's too much for your eyes. I don't know. It's almost too much for my eyes. Okay. And is it time for us to include the deer? We could give each of these bushes actor areas, and we could tell the deer to avoid these bushes as well. I think we're just going to put deer on. We're not going to try to put the deer in here, but maybe this ring, and to an extent this ring, we could put deer as well. This is a little too dense. I feel like it'd be hard for the players to get in there. So we're going to have Oasis object definitions, and we're going to say constant. And I think we need 4 of these because we got all kinds of different animals here. We've got ostriches, zebras, regular deer, goats. So we have lots of different types of animal here. Let me Let me just check the constants list and see. Let's see. We'll show them. Maybe 4 is too much. I would be willing to settle with 3. Animals. Deer, zebra, ostrich, ibex. And we're not gonna call them boars. I think we could have boars on this map, but I don't think I'm gonna put neutral boars on the map. So it's just 4 of these. So I think we'll do 3. I can't foresee the need to have more than 3 of these at the same time. On a rainforest map, we could have deer, but we're not really going to need ibex. So we'll do 3 deers. 3 deers, you guys. So we're going to say deer 1. Just type it out for good measure. Since it's going to be 2 words here. Constant deer 2. And constant deer 3. So we will define these now. So the first deer is 65. And we're going to want deer and ibex for us. So we'll have all 3 of these. We'll have 1 set of deer and 2 set of ibexes, I think. So we'll have 65, because ibexes are pretty rough. They're pretty hardy. 1, 2, 3, 9, and 1, 2, 3, 9. So we'll have two groups of ibex for every 1 group of deer. And we could have called them lurables. I think that's technically what the official maps call them, but hey, we're not official here, and we're proud of it. We are unofficial and proud of it. So let's program those into the spreadsheet now. So deer 1, deer 2, deer, oops, 3. Let's copy this. Paste it there. So what are we going to do for the object quantity? Well, the deer are going to be kind of random, I guess. Could be a lone animal, or it could be up to 3, I think. Or we could do 2 to 4. We're not going to give them any resource delta. So let's do 2 to 4 for now. Group quantity is going to be essentially infinite. We're going to start with RT2. And forest distance, we're not going to worry about that, because these animals will move in case somebody wanted to build somewhere. We are going to space them 24 apart. And we're going to have them avoid player starting areas by 32. So we can get rid of this. However, these additional deer are going to avoid the previous deer. Oops. Okay, so we copy this. Actually, we'll copy all of this. This is all going to be relevant to deer 2. and there, and deer 1. So this avoids whatever's in 66, and we're going to have it do that by 12. So I think that they were avoiding each other by 24. And then we'll copy this again, paste there, and then we will continue this trend, a 70 through 71. And we will again have them avoid by 12. To make sure that these deer are not too close to the player starting areas. These are neutral resources. Oh, we never copied the rest of this over for deer 3. All right, that explains why it's not there. We need these to be convertible, actually, these deer, because if they are not, then they actually cannot be lured, which is sort of an interesting idea. So we will copy these 2 more times, here and there. And we're going to place them on RT3, 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 and then RT4, RT4, and RT4. Okay. And then we will keep expanding the circle of things that they avoid. $76 and 77. All right, and then we just keep adding these radiuses in here. So we add another radius, copy that, paste that. We add another radius. Okay. Let's run it. I'll be right back, guys. Just give me a sec. Step away. Turn on some lights, for one. Okay, I'm back. So there are ibexes in here. There are some deer. They don't care about the berries, because I have not told them to avoid the berries. We could give the berries a min distance group placement so that the deer cannot spawn too close to them. It looks like the deer would also benefit from a spacing to forests, just so they don't become trapped inside of them. There's a couple of deer there. Yeah, this group has its origins here. It's actually split by these trees, I think. The deer are still in groups of 2. Oh no, this is a group of 4. Well, I don't believe that these deer it could be 2 groups next to each other. We have them all avoiding each other. The berries should be tightly spaced. They're split up like this. We do not want that. Okay, we can put them in groups of 2. So what do we think about these deer? Are they too close together? It might be less cluttered if we changed it over to player 1. There you go, so you can't see the fish traps. But I think that some of these deer are trapped in the forest. But I think that's okay, because they're neutral deer. They don't belong to any one person. Oh, you know what? I guess they don't all have to have the same amount. It can be different size herds, because they're placed as 3 different objects. That's the issue. That is the issue. So sometimes you get a big herd like this, for this, and sometimes you get a smaller herd like this one. I appreciate the randomness of this, although I don't know that the players will. Nevertheless, we'll keep it. We will keep it. We'll move on. So we will just make that correction to the forage bushes. And then we'll move on. So the forage bushes, we need to tell these to have tight grouping. Tight, 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 and tight. Okay, and then the deer can be loosely grouped. That's fine. It's fine for the deer to be loosely grouped. Let's do a generation on a larger map size. see how it looks. But this should be even more balanced. Remember that we haven't run the code to fix the forage bushes yet. Yeah, this is absolutely fine. It's almost kind of predictable where the deer are going to be. It almost looks geometrically perfect, you know. But a lot of hunted meat in this case, which makes sense because there's not much in the way of berries. Remember, we're going to reduce the number of berry bushes by half. Actually, we should have already done that. Let's do that now. So bush food 1, bush food 2, we're going to change that to 278. That's our dead fish trap. So now when we hit random, we should have berry bushes disappearing. Should have half the berry bush density. So where are the berry bushes? There's some here. There are some here. They need to be tightly spaced, but yeah, as you can see, there aren't nearly as many. There's some here. Not a lot of berries. Okay. What else? So we've changed the forage bushes to be tightly spaced. We have these fishes here. The fish should no longer, the deep fish should no longer be present, and that is indeed the case. They are not. It's because we cannot really enforce. We cannot really enforce the fact that the players would have to dock in order to take them. So, but there are shorefish here. Maybe we do like 2 shorefishes actually. But it seems like it could be worth it to dock to take these shorefish, especially near the edges of the lake. So that might be a modification that we make later. Deer in place. The berries are in place. And now we need to add the predators. So the predators, the big thing about the predators is they're pretty much just going to be on this 4 terrain, I think. Let's go back down to tiny to see if we still get that terrain. But they're going to be on the outermost oasis terrain right here. Yep. And there's going to be a lot of them. And these predators are there to make sure that somebody cannot successfully wall this off. So for this, we could do snow leopards, actually. This might kind of be a good biome for snow leopards. But we could do wolves as well. I think we're going to do snow leopards, though, just because how many other different biomes could you really put snow leopards in? You can't really put them in temperate biomes. You can't put them in desert biomes. You can't put them in jungle biomes. So this is pretty much it where snow leopards can be. So the next step are to put the predators down. So let's do that. So we got all of these potential food sources here. Oh, by the way, we need to, well, first of all, we need to empty the fill from these We don't need the red fill for that because they're not a food source. Although we could give them food. We don't want to because it's just annoying for the players to have to deal with. The stone, we're going to shade this gray. And the reason we do this is so that it's easier to find the resources if we're going in later and modifying things. That's why I like to do it. These are shaded a different color just because they're on a different terrain type. They're on the transitional terrain. So the snow leopards are not going to be up here in the mountains, which is kind of counterintuitive. And maybe you could put some up here, because in the nomad start, the players are starting with the packed town center. And the snow leopards will not attack the packed town center. But I want players to be able to go up here and get stone freely. I don't want them to have to wait for it. So we will just put the snow leopards in the oasis. And that's where their food is anyway. Technically, snow leopards won't eat deer, but they will eat ibex. Ibex are kind of their ideal food source, actually. They're big enough to be worth the chase. Although ibex are very nimble, they're very good at running down mountainsides, avoiding snow leopards, which annoys snow leopards greatly. But it's the biological arms race. So let's carry this on. And I think that we want, I think it's snow leopard, DLC snow leopard. Yeah, 1241. But we're going to say that we want predator. And I'm trying to think now if we want different types of predators, but I don't think so. I think each biome should have a pretty fair distribution of predators. So it should be fine. Each biome will have equal opportunity to showcase a different predator. It doesn't really matter. It attacks you, you don't like it, it's annoying. It's good enough for me. Alright, so predator, they're going to be neutral Gaia. These predators are going to be unconvertible. Actually, no, we'll make them convertible. If they're unconvertible, then the predators will not chase. Let me actually see what I did for the previous map for Karga. Let's check. Let's see what the predators are doing in Karga. Wolf. Okay, and he is neutral Gaia convertible. So this wolf is allowed to chase, and there are 3 or 4 of them. Nice. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put between 3 and 4, and these predators are going to be placed on RT4, ring terrain 4, and their temp min distance group placement is going to be the same. Interesting that their forest distance is 12. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. I think I'm looking at the wrong version here. Okay, no, there are 2 of them. They are placed on RT4. Oh, that's good. Their forest distance is 2. So we'll put that here. Their temp min distance group placement is going to be 8. And they avoid the player areas by 32. Okay, so we will copy this and we'll paste that down here, and we will get rid of the fill because they are not a food source. No fill. We'll put the predators in. Save it, and let's run that real quick. So I'm very interested in these predators. We have a little bit more work to do on these objects. We have to give the players their gold, or we have to apply the neutral gold, and we have to give the players their player assigned resources. So that's all set. Let's hit generate. Actually, we won't see any predators show up because I did not define them. So the snow leopard is 1241, so we need to define that. Let's come over here. $12.41, I believe. Okay. There. Now, we should have the predators appearing on this outermost ring. Yes, there are the snow leopards. They're here, they're here. These snow leopards, they are very interested in eating you. If you try to wall this off, they will mess with you. You could probably wall this off here, but if you came out this way, there would just be too many. It's just not worth it. Okay, and they are guarding these deer. There's so many snow leopards. Okay, but this is good. This is what we want. Snow leopards are in the right place. We could make them a little bit further away. Maybe we could do like 34. We can tweak that. Let's come over here and let's mess with that a little bit. The other thing that we need to do is we're going to scale that actor area up by a factor of 2 on giant map sizes. So these predators, we'll have them avoid by maybe 36, and we'll set this scaling to 2 so that on giant map sizes it's twice as far. We'll have to see if that 2 holds up. We might have to relax it from that, but the only way we're going to know is if we experiment and see what the results are. Alright, it's all set. See what these snow leopards do, how they react. If we can move the snow leopards a little bit further away from, and remember there's going to be some variation in the player starting lands as well. I think that's about as far as I dare go. I don't know how much variation we have in these player starting locations just yet. But yes, the snow leopards are inhabiting this area, and if you tried to send a villager in here, like, it could get attacked from multiple directions by snow leopards. So that's a good thing. We do not want players coming out here, and the players are going to know that there are snow leopards out here. We'll have to change the rules slightly for nomad situations. Not as many snow leopards hanging around. But this is good for now. We don't really care about whether or not there are deer next to the snow leopards. That's fine. The snow leopards effectively cut down the amount of deer that's available early game on the map, which is a good thing. What I'm trying to decide is, do the snow leopards completely negate the advantage for the deer? I mean, there's still deer closer to the center that you might be able to take. Yeah, there's still some deer here. And there are a couple snow leopards. Yeah, I say that we push the snow leopards away a little bit further. But the big thing is, let's check on giant map size. And we'll have to do 8 players this time. And let's see how well the snow leopards avoid the players. We know that they're going to basically avoid the players by twice as much. So let's see. Alright, so the snow leopards don't appear. in this case. They're avoiding the player lands by too much. And we still want this to be unwallable. So we're going to get this right for the tiny map size with 2 players, and then we'll set a more modest magnification factor for those snow leopards. So let's, first of all, get these snow leopards to spawn properly. Not properly, it's not really improper, but I'd like more of the deer to be accessible, the neutral deer. Right now you can't really take it because the snow leopards are too powerful. So we will push these snow leopards away even more. And then once it looks good for tiny, we will adjust that scaling factor for larger map sizes, and we will get it to be perfect. So we will have it avoid by 40. It's better. We're still not quite there. Tiny map size, 2 players. Let's do a couple more generations. I wonder what we did for Karga. Karga was slightly different though. Yeah, we'll do 44. But you have to respect the snow leopards. If you don't respect the snow leopards, they will eat you. It should be sufficient. We just got to get them ideally situated here. I really don't want to go too much further than that. Yep, that's better. Look at this. Perfect. The snow leopards are purring. And there's still a couple deer over here you can take. This one might be risking it. This one's probably pretty risky, depending on the difficulty level you play on. But these deer are still safe. These snow leopards are a little bit closer, though. Look at that. And of course, you can take the deer in the inner rings, and that should be not a problem. You might even be able to quick wall these snow leopards. Who knows? Be interesting to see how the high level play, how it interprets this, what it makes of it. All right, I'm going to leave it at 44, and now we need to go back and we need to really take a look and see what we can do for this amplification factor for the higher map sizes. We're at 2 right now, and the snow leopards are not appearing at all. And it makes sense because they're basically being told they have to avoid by 88. So let's set this scaling to 1 with 44, and we'll just kind of do a sanity check. We should have changed it last time, actually, because 1 would have been pretty simple. And if this works out okay, then we'll just leave it there. We'll just say we'll just be content with the snow leopards having no further avoidance in a large map than they have in a tiny map. All right, it's done. Let's come over here and take a look at the giant map size with 8 players. UFC says hello from Russia. Hello, UFC. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so the snow leopards, this looks like maybe it could be a place in Russia. So the snow leopards... What the heck? Where are all of the snow leopards? You know what? The snow leopards... This is crazy, but they actually have less space. They have less space because of these players. These players just get bumped up closer to the edge of the map. And that makes it harder for the snow leopards to spawn. So we actually need to decrease that distance for the larger map sizes, which is interesting. There's still some deer here, which is good. But, yeah, that's funny. Just by nature of the angular arrangement, the way that it all works out is the snow leopards have a harder time spawning for the case of a larger number of players. So we will go back to our spreadsheet and we will dial that number down. Do you play Age of Empires UFC? So we will set this scaling factor equal to 0.75 and we will see how that works. You have snow but no mountains? Of course I have mountains. My mountains are over here. See? There's a ridgy area, and the mountains are on that. But for the purposes of balance, we can't put the snow leopards up here. We need to put them over here so that players don't wall off the oasis. But yes, we do have mountains. And we're actually adapting Karga for different biomes. As it was just a desert biome, and we've converted it over to a rocky, snowy, kind of like a cold desert biome. Maybe this is someplace in the dry Soviet Far East, if it is dry out there. I was thinking it looked a lot like Mongolia, actually. But I've never been to Mongolia, so I wouldn't know. But the premise is that there's a lake in the middle, and there's trees around the lake like an oasis, and you can dock, and maybe there are some fish. So that I made this map because I was like, oh, we have an oasis map, but the oasis itself is not interactable. You can't get to it. You can't do anything with the water, even though the water is the most important part of the oasis. So, all right, anyway, we got that all run. So it's written to file. And when we hit generate, what we're going to check is we're going to check to see if we have more snow leopards now. We should, because they're avoiding the player starting areas by less. They are not avoiding as much. They're avoiding by 75% of what they would in a 1v1. And that might be too little, but we'll see. Okay, so here are some snow leopards. There's some more snow leopards. There are more snow leopards. Yep. So this looks pretty good. And these snow leopards will prevent players from walling off their side of the map. I might want to make it a little bit less, actually. Because he might still be able to, well, I guess he could come out here and try to wall this off. But the player greed. They want it to come forward. They want to wall to the edge of the map. I guess he could do that if he were over here. So we might have to experiment with that. How are these snow leopards doing? Yeah, these snow leopards look good. But again, it's still not quite there. So maybe we set them equal to 65%. So they get a little bit closer. All right, let's do, well, let's do 70. 0.70. So they actually get closer. So it'll be 44 times 0.7, whatever that is. But it'll round it. It'll calculate it and it'll round it. Okay. Yeah, I play Age of Empires 2 rather regularly with my guild, actually. They love testing custom maps. So when this map is done, they will test it. I still have to put the player assigned resources, and I have to put the neutral golds out here on these cold and barren prairies. Otherwise, it should be pretty much good to go. I spent a lot of time getting these mountains right, and I adapted some of the work from Karga, which is the previous, the sort of spiritual predecessor to this. All right, that's all written. So we're gonna generate again, and we're just gonna keep an eye on those snow leopards and see if the snow leopards get a little bit closer. Remember that we're just putting the snow leopards here so that players will have a hard time walling to the edge of the map. Snow leopards. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. I mean, you could still wall this, but there's also going to be more going on, I think, in a big team game. Is your game will be mobile or PC? Well, this is a random map script, and you download it. You could download it, and people post custom map scripts all the time to the internet. You could download it and you could play on it for your PC if you put it in the correct folder. But Age of Empires 2 is for PC. Yeah, that'll be good. So we'll leave it at that. It is dinner time for me. I have to go and get some supper. We've made some really good progress today. We redid these mountains, which is good. We got some big rocky areas, but that's okay because people can still walk through here. Ooh, at least I'm pretty sure they can. Let's see. I hope this isn't cut off. That would be really embarrassing. Let's see. The battle elephant. Yeah, no, he can get through. He can walk through. He can come down this way, and he can walk through there, and he should... Maybe he can't walk through here. I'll have to take a look at that. But I know he can walk through here. There's supposed to be passageways through. This one has good passageways. So I might have to look at this and see if that can be improved slightly. Yeah, see, I think this is kind of what's happening here. It's getting a little plugged on the giant map size. Maybe I'll have to scale up an actor area or something. You could still get through, but it's a little bit more closed than I want it to be. And get it through here to get to the stone. But we made really good progress. We pretty much finished these corners. We put the mountains in the snowy rocks. It's too bad we don't have any actual snowy rocks, but we put rocks around the mountains with snow terrain, and it at least looks cold. And we got some neutral resources on the oasis, and we'll have to put some more on there soon. But the oasis is pretty much ready for eye candy, and then we'll put gold on these badlands out here, and then we'll give the players player assigned resources, and we should basically be good to go here. So thank you everybody who stopped in and took a look and formed an opinion about what I'm working on. I'm a big fan of custom map scripts. I think that Age of Empires does not see enough of them, and I think that that's kind of a shame that we don't get very much variety. It's always the same 4 maps. So I'm trying to change that. Got a community that supports this kind of thing. So if you are interested in joining the conversation, Nightbot will give you a link to the Discord where you can come and hang out with us, and you maybe could be some of the guinea pigs to try some of these cool maps out. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll continue with this another time. We'll catch you guys later.